Today, I am going to be working in the basement. I need to pour concrete right here, I need to pour concrete right there, and then I also need to pour some more concrete right there. Hey everybody, you're watching Cole the Corn Star, and welcome to the 100% restoration and remodel of my great-great-grandfather's $7,000 mansion, and welcome to Cornstar Farms. I am currently standing in the middle of the underground movie theater. We have everything 100% ready to rock and roll and start pouring concrete and building down here, but we cannot get started on pouring concrete and building until we finish all of the big work inside of the existing basement, because we need the area we are right now to be able to get big stuff in and to be able to get big stuff out. So we are going to be jumping right inside of that big hole in the side of the wall and working down there today. In the existing basement, we are currently in the middle of the behemoth task of removing these super intrusive poles that are in the middle of the basement floor. We actually have two on this side, and then there is another one over on this side of the basement. Now, the only way that we can get rid of these poles is by installing ginormous I-beams just like this one. Believe it or not, installing these massive I-beams is relatively simple, and it doesn't even take that long. The hardest part and the longest part about this entire project is all of the preparation work that goes into everything, because once you get a 1,000-pound beam up in the air, you don't exactly have many second chances to be able to reset the thing. So you want to make sure that the area that it's sitting on and the post that is supporting it are good. So today, I am going to be working on all the preparation stuff, so that way we can have everything 100% ready to rock and roll on the ground before we get the beam up in the air, so that way we can just come in with the beams later, lift them up, put them in place, and then D-U-N. Done. Preparation item number one has to do with the big beam that is going to be hanging in the middle of this room. On this end, the I-beam that we already have installed is going to be taking all of the weight that this is carrying, because it's going to be welded right to the side of it right here. However, at the other end, we need to have a post. Now, this post is going to be right here in this corner. It's going to be against the wall. And then when we actually finish out the basement, it will go around the post, our finished work. So you won't even know there's a post there. It's literally just going to look like the wall. Now, at the bottom, the way we currently have the floor, we have the footings for the foundation walls, and then we have our rock for drainage underneath of the floor. We are going to have 2 inches of insulation on top of this, and then there is going to be 6 inches of concrete. So our floor height is going to be somewhere about right here. So at the moment, if we put our post in, it is going to be buried below the floor height, which is what we don't want. We want that to be above the floor, so that way it will always stay dry and it will never be damp. So I need to somehow move this pole over, and then we are going to have to form something up right here, and then we are going to pour a concrete block for our future post to be able to sit on. So it'll basically look something almost identical to what we have right here. So floor height will be somewhere about where my fingers are, and then the post will be sitting up above the floor height, and then this will always stay nice and dry. And while we are at it with the concrete work, we have one more concrete pour that we also need to do. Right here we have this piece that is lifted up. We need to build it just a little bit longer somewhere in here. So we are going to form this up and get this poured as well, because there is going to be a post on top of this that is going to ultimately end up holding up this I-beam that is currently sitting here. We need to slide this I-beam over about 3 more inches that way, so it will actually be halfway on this wall, halfway off. So we want to make sure we have a good post over on this side, and then we want to make sure that post has a nice dry area to sit on as well. So we have a lot of stuff to do with concrete today, and making things dry for our future posts to be able to sit on. Unfortunately, I do not have a lot of the materials that we need to complete today's task, so I'm going to be starting out my day by running into town, and we have some errands to run.
Meanwhile, at the main heated shop on Cornstar Farms.
All right, good morning. Next day here, Tuesday. Got a new project in the shop. Had to pull the semis out for now. Ryan and his son Cooper, there'll be 2 Coopers in here today. We're gonna be working on the combine, going through that. We got all of our parts to get this ready for fall. I don't think there's anything major. It's time consuming. So anyways, we're gonna start on this. We just got some bearings and stuff here. Like I said, nothing too major. Me and Zach just got the hardest job done. We had to put new shock here so the back spreaders can come up. But I don't really know what we gotta do today, but kind of hoping we can get it done today, but maybe 2 days, so see what we can get done. All right, me and Zach are starting on the driver's side here, replacing our unloading belts. Got 2 here to do. Way up yonder. I don't think you can see Zach up there. We're on the other side here. Probably wondering why I'm over here, but what are we working on?
We're taking these shaker arms off, and we're going to replace the bearing inside that cap block. But I got to get to that one back there.
Oh, that looks like fun.
It's a process.
Save big money at Menards. We need one of these, we need one of these, we need one of these, and we need one of these. Actually, I take that back. I don't think we need one of these. There we go. This is what I need. We also need those. We need one of these. Oh, and 10 of these. After a little bit of effort, we got all 10. And then this is the last place we need to go. This is where our big I-beams are. So we got some I-beams outside, but first I do need to get this piece for the I-beams that we are going to connect in. So we have Javi cutting it up for us right here. And I think he's got one more piece to cut after this. And why he's wearing a sweatshirt when it's 80 degrees out, I don't know.
I'm a welder.
That was louder than I expected. Okie dokie, there we have it. We have our 2 big I-beams for the one side of the basement loaded up right here, and then we have a bit of strapping that we are going to be able to use to fasten these bad guys down. We did our best with the straps and then tried to use these 1-bys and got everything screwed down to the deck, so none of this stuff should be going anywhere, but we're gonna take it nice and easy going home. Typically what I like to do when I have something strapped down is I just drive a little bit, I try to hit a few bumps, and then I pull over and I get out and I check all my straps just in case anything shifted or something. Then we can re-cinch stuff down and then make sure it's nice and tight going down the road. Each one of these beams weighs 1,000 pounds, or at least that's what the sticker says. So I don't really want to mess around with one of those accidentally falling off down the highway, because I would not be getting that back on by myself, and that would be embarrassing and it would turn into a whole ordeal, and I don't want to have that happen. So I just drove a little bit. We're going to check this out, make sure everything's strapped down nice. I might tighten it up a click if I can. There we go, not going anywhere. Oh yeah, not going anywhere, we good.
Alrighty, well, Ryan just left. They got quite a bit done. We've been helping them all day. They put some new hardware. I'm not really sure what he did up here. I wasn't here when he did it, but put some new hardware in the throat chain here. Let's see, we put new cabin air filter in, another air filter for the cab right here. Put these 2 new chains on for the unloading system. Me and Zach put those 2 belts in up there. Let's see, Cooper and Ryan, they put new bearings in here on the shaker arms on both sides. Me and Zach are right now working on, we're just putting these new bearings on the fan here. Those were getting dry. So we got that one in, we're working on the other side now. I've been working on the chopper knives in here, the stationary chopper knives. All these here, a few of them are knocked down. So, just putting those back together. 2 were broke, so waiting to get new ones of those. Got this new strut put on for the spreader in the back. New fuel filter. New chain up there on the clean green elevator. And then now we're working on this other bearing here. We got to replace this steel here. It's like rubber. That's what runs the fan. So we got to replace that. Working on that. We got to change oil still. Got to change a cartridge fuel filter. Clean the cab. We'll have to wash it. Then up here we got to change. In our cradle, there's a hole right here. So we got to cut a flat piece of steel at a 45, start at the bottom there and point it up, fill that hole in so cobs don't go through in there. It's been a cheap year on the combine. You know, some years you can get 30, 40 grand wrapped up in the combine. This year we should be probably 5 to 7 grand. It's been a lot of bearings, but bearings are expensive. I think those two bearings and two bearings and something else like 350 bucks, and they were small items. So everything on these things is super pricey. It's stepped in grease. So our labor bill this year is only 1 day on the combine. Sometimes it's a week. So that's nice, especially for this year. Grain prices suck, so if we can keep our costs down, that's good. But we're gonna finish up that bearing over there and we'll move on to the next project. All right, so we were trying to move this fan over and we put a socket on there and hit that shaft in. Well, that inner piece is separate and it pushed it in and we can't get it to come out. So we took a bolt here and we ground part of it flat and we're gonna shove the head in there and then put a big washer on the outside of the nut and try to pull it out to the impact. So we're gonna see if this works. If it don't, we'll have to grind a little bit more of that off. But here's another specialty tool. They make tools to do stuff like this, but we don't have one, so we're gonna make this work.
Sorry if I made you yawn, but we did make it back to the farm, and okay, I'm not going to lie. Sitting in the air conditioning in the truck, it's all nice, it's comfortable, you can listen to stuff while you're driving down the road, but it literally took me 6 hours to get all these materials. I feel like I've got nothing done. So with the side of the basement that has the white pole in it, these are the I-beams that are going to be going above the big beam that is on the ceiling that the white pole is currently holding up. So basically these are going to be replacing the white pole. So one of these, well, right now they're 20 feet long, so we are gonna have to cut about 4 feet off of the end. One of them, weighs 1,000 pounds. So we have 2,000 pounds of I-beam sitting right here. They are 6 by 6, so I just took a tape measure to it. It is 6 1/4 inches tall, so I don't know why they call it 6 by 6, but then going from this corner to this corner, it is 6 inches. And then we're rocking just about pinky width on the thickness on the webbing in the middle. So this will actually be vertical, which I think this bottom part, since it's going to have the tension on it, this is what actually is going to make it really strong. And that one's almost a good true pinky width. So we are dealing with some pretty stinking thick metal right here. And then while we were at the metal shop, Javier was working on the bandsaw, cutting these pieces of metal for us. So downstairs we have the existing I-beam that's in the basement right now. And we are going to be putting another big one that is going to go perpendicular right into it. Or I should say, the one down there would be where my hand is, and the one that we are going to be installing would be in the place of this one. So we want to weld the two together, so we are simply going to take these pieces that Javier cut, and then we're gonna put them inside of the webbing here, and then this entire face is going to be welded to the inside of the I-beam, and then right here where my thumb is, that is going to be welded to the beam that is on this side. So that way everything is nice and welded together, and we're gonna have a lot of contact area. I got two 9-inch pieces right here. These are 3/8 inches thick, and then they are 3.5 inches on the bottom and 3.5 inches going up. So these are going to be some really nice strong pieces of metal. And when it comes to this welding job, welding is an area I can make something hold. If I'm just farmering something together and it's not really supporting a ton of weight, I can definitely do it. But on something like this, where people are going to be walking under it for the next who knows how long, 200 years, I want to make sure that this thing is absolutely done right. So one of my really good friends, Nick, he used to be an iron worker and then he does welding stuff now. He is actually going to be coming out in a few days and he is going to get all of this cleaned up for us. He's going to bring his welder. He's got it on a trailer. He can pull it right up here to the door or run it right down inside of the basement. And then he said he would tackle this job for me so that way we have everything welded 100% correct and it's super safe. So he told me what to get for this, and so I'm kind of really excited to see how everything turns out once we actually get everything all welded up inside of there. And then this singular board that I got is kind of a special board. This is a green treated board or a ground contact treated. So they basically like put it inside of a pressure machine and it runs some sort of micronized copper or something inside of here. And it basically makes it where this board does not rot. So it is designed to be in contact with wet areas. It's designed to be in contact with soil, and for whatever reason, it does not deteriorate, or it takes a really long time to deteriorate. So we are going to be using this down in the basement as base plating. Anytime that wood is in contact with concrete, just like right here, we need to install a green treated or ground contact treated board as our touching point. So what touches concrete needs to be green treated, because this concrete, as dry as it may seem, it will actually collect the moisture from down below it, even vapor, and it will actually get into the concrete. And concrete is porous, so that moisture will slowly work its way up to the top of the concrete, and so it will make a damp environment on the bottom side of this wood. So when we have the ground contact treated in there, we don't have to worry about this board ever deteriorating from moisture coming beneath, because it's ground contact treated, where this top board right here is just normal wood, where if it sits on there long enough, it could give us problems. Now in the case of the basement down here, as much waterproofing as we are doing with everything, or at least as much water mitigation systems as we have below, and then all the air conditioning and the dehumidifiers and that kind of thing, I don't think we would have any potential problems down here. But while we are building things, we just want to put it in, so then that way, just in case something goes on, then we will make sure that we have everything in place where we will not have boards rotting out. Especially in the middle of the house like this, this wall is literally holding up the center of the house. So if that board starts to rot and settle down because it's rotting, then our entire middle of the house will actually drop. So I got that green treated board because it is going to go on the top of these platforms right here and right there, and then the ones that we are going to be pouring over there that our posts are going to be sitting on. So it's very important that we have these green treated. And then we also got these two items right here. So these are just a typical square thing for the impacts. When we get to all the electrical stuff on the house, I'm just kind of thinking a little bit ahead here. Most of the screws on those have a little square fitting in them, and then you don't get the slip like you do with a regular screwdriver, because they have a regular screwdriver thing, and then they have this little square on the inside. So this will make our work much faster when we can use the impacts to loosen things and tighten things. And then this other thing, this is a little miniature shovel. When we're working in close digging quarters, like right here where we have the last bit of foundation wall that we need to still dig out this dirt and then form everything up and pour it, sometimes it's really difficult for two people to work in, or sometimes you're just in a really tight area where it's super hard to get a shovel inside of there, and you just spend a lot of time doing not a lot of work. So this attachment right here goes onto our hammer drill, and the hammer drill is going to allow us to basically take this thing, you put the hammer drill on top of it, you pull the trigger, and then this thing goes boom, 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 super fast and super hard, and it'll just wipe a face off in absolutely no time. Then we have little crumbles on the ground. Then we can just come in with a big shovel, scoop it up, throw it in the wheelbarrow, and get it out of here. This is going to make our hand digging so much faster, it's not even funny. Or at least I hope so. I've just watched people on YouTube use them, and it looked like it's a pretty slick unit. So I'm hoping it works out the same. We're about to find out. If not, I've spent $61 on a little miniature shovel that, well, I suppose is about Edward's size. So Edward can use it if it's not going to work for us.
Me and Zach changed the light bulbs and two of the flashers. We just changed the hydraulic. Just changed the hydraulic filters, got those on, made a mess, per usual. So we just got some stuff finished up in the morning, waiting for a couple stationary chopper knives from Case. Got to change the oil in the morning. I got a Napa fuel filter. We had Napa fuel filter for it. And you got to put the water, the sensor in the bottom that detects water. The threads must be different in the Napa filters. So I got to get a different fuel filter from Case. Got to change the top cartridge fuel filter. Grease it, wash it, clean the cab, clean the windows. We got to put our covers on our concaves when we run beans. We put these cover deals on that keep the crop in and the rotor longer, so it threshes longer instead of falling out sooner. So anyways, we got to put those covers on. They shut that door. Put some hydraulic oil in it. Fuel's already full. This thing's about ready. Tomorrow we should, if we don't have it done tomorrow, it should be close. I think we'll get it done tomorrow. We don't have a lot of hard stuff left, so it shouldn't take, it'll probably take about all day, but who knows, things happen. Seems like everything we do, we fight it, so yeah. getting anxious to get going. We got trucks are about ready. Well, two of the four are ready. We'll only use 3 trucks in the harvest, but we have 1 extra truck. So we're gonna get that ready just in case one breaks down. We don't have to worry about it not being ready when harvest is going. So we just gotta check that one over quick. It shouldn't really need anything. We just gotta put fenders on that gray truck and some air tank brackets. Find a couple air leaks. There's a couple bad ones, get those fixed. But crops are changing, won't be long. Be here before we know it. Hopefully this year we're prepared and ready for harvest. Usually we never are, so be nice if we can get done with everything and be waiting for the crop to be done instead of the crop waiting for us. So you don't realize how much stuff there is to do to get ready. And for us, we work on all of our own equipment. So yeah, we're not doing the motor because that's a lot of time and I don't necessarily know how to do that. And having someone else do it, we get a 1-year warranty out of that. So we're letting someone else do that. But doing our own stuff takes a lot of time, but it's a lot cheaper than having Case or John Deere or whoever do it at 150, 175 bucks an hour. So for me and Dad and Zach to work on stuff, it's a lot cheaper. Plus it keeps us busy in the summertime and the winter. And so it works.
Now that we got everything here to the farm, I'm going to whip out the skid loader and we are going to get our concrete loaded up and get everything brought down into the basement, get things formed up and get some concrete poured. Whoa, try not to run over my electrical pole there. Just look how much nicer this is than carrying all of these bags down the ladder. We can just set it right up here with the skid loader, nice and effortlessly. Ha ha ha! Look at that. Technology is incredible, isn't it? In the site of our first pour right here, I just took the hammer drill and we have a 1/2-inch bit on here and I ended up drilling 4 holes. So I got 2 in the bottom footer, 1 in the wall, and then 1 in this little piece right here. And the reason why I did this is these are some special bolts. These are called wedge bolts. So they got this little collar piece right here. So when we drill the hole, we end up putting our bolt down inside of there and then we tighten up the nut. And when we tighten up the nut, it pulls the bolt out a little bit, and then this little collar piece slides down up to this belled end, and it makes this piece wider, and it pushes against the side of our hole that we made, and then it makes it where the bolt is tight in there. So all of these are tight now, so what they're going to do, it's going to allow our new concrete that's going to be poured right here to be tied to this piece. It's going to allow it to be tied to the wall. And it's also going to allow it to be tied to the footing. To be completely honest, I don't know if this is even necessary or not, but it makes me feel better. By having those on the footing, the wall, and our other piece, it basically makes it where it's impossible for the piece of concrete that we are pouring to ever be able to tip forward, or for the bottom to ever be able to move, or really for it to be able to go anywhere. Which by the time we get our floor poured in here, the floor is going to be like up to here, so it's not going to be able to move anyway. So like I said, I don't know if this is really necessary, but it makes me feel better. But with that being said, this one is all ready to be formed up now. So we have 2 more over here that we are going to do. We need to do the one right here, and we need to do the one right there.
Still working on this fan. We tried doing another bolt, heated that shaft up, put the bolt in there, tried to pull it out, would not go, won't move, so we just left it, and we are drilling new holes in. Now we're tapping it. We're just gonna put new holes in, and hopefully this does the trick. Our one tap hole did not line up very straight, so I'm not really sure what we're gonna do there, but usual, we'll figure it out. Combine 1, me and Zach 0. This is kicking our butt. We've spent like 5-6 hours on this, and it's getting pretty aggravating, but I think hopefully we're on the home slide here. Okay, we got it through on both of them. If you guys can see it, that's a tap. We drilled a, what did we drill, 5/16 hole. And then we put a 3/8 tap in it, and it gives us 3/8 threads, so we can put these new bolts in. The old ones were metric, but we don't have any metric, so we're putting standard in. So we're gonna get that cleaned out, and then we can slide this in there. We get a key stock in there, that slid in, and hopefully we can have this thing wrapped up here in just a little bit.
And just like that, we got pad number 1 all formed up right here. This is ready to be filled with concrete. And then pad number 2 is quite a bit bigger than pad number 1, but we got this one all formed up. We got everything all tap-conned in. It's nice and strong. It's not moving, not going anywhere. We are going to have quite a bit of weight on this one because of the giant steel I-beam up there. So to make me feel better, we'd probably put 10 times as much rebar as we actually needed in here, but this is all rebarred up. Everything is all tied. We are ready to pour concrete. Let me take that back. We'll be pouring that concrete after we eat our pork steaks. Roman, do you want to put your shoes back on? That kind of stinks. Oh, lunch is over. It's nap time. After nap time, concrete pouring time. And just like that, we have pour number 1 done. It looks like our form is holding up good over here, and we got everything going level from our existing pour over into the new part, so we should have a nice seamless transition, which is what we want. And then pour number 2 is also done. This one looks absolutely beautiful. Looks like our form is holding up good. We don't have any bowing. Our blocks did not move. Our concrete anchors into the wall are holding up. We do have to wait a little bit before we can get our final finish on top. We can see it looks a little bit glossy and wet. We gotta wait for that to dry up a little bit. Then we'll take our trowel over the top of it and then get a really nice smooth finish. These are going to be hidden behind the walls, so it doesn't really matter what they look like, and I'm taking this as an opportunity to practice some of my finishing skills, because if I mess something up, it doesn't matter, because it's going to be hidden inside of a wall. And I would much rather make a mistake on something that is going to be hidden behind a wall like this than making that mistake out here in the open where we're actually going to be looking at it. Trying to run the edger on this right now, and this is not finishing concrete. We need more cream, but it just doesn't seem like this mix wants to give us very much cream. By cream, I mean all this kind of soupy stuff on top. We have a bunch of rock exposed, so usually the cream would be filling over the top of that to hide all of the rock. But right now we are just exposing rock, and it is not wanting to fill up. So good thing no one's going to be looking at this because it's going to be hidden behind a wall. All right, me and Zach just got done digging a grave. We had to dig a grave. Usually Dad and me do them, or Dad and Cole, or usually Dad digs them. He always digs them. But Dad, Mom, and Grandma are out in Boston right now seeing my grandma's sister. She's getting dementia really bad, so she wanted to go out there and see her before it got too bad. So yeah, we got to we had to cover, so we had to do the grave. So me and Zach just got that dug. We borrowed Zach's dump trailer. Our dump truck's not quite running right. We put new spark plugs in it and wires and something else. I can't remember what else we did to it, but now it seems like it's got a mess. So use Zach's trailer, works pretty good. So we're gonna bring this back. Zach's bringing the mini hoe back now.
and pick them up, and then we'll go back to the combine. Not getting a lot done today as much as I was hoping, but that's just how it goes. So anyways, we're gonna bring this back to Zach's, drop that off, head back to the shop.
It appears that we have lost most of the water on top of our pours now. I do see some aggregate that is exposed, so while we have just a little bit of water up on top, I'm gonna try to see if I can trowel this out again and get rid of those little aggregate spots, and then once it sets up a little bit more in a few minutes, we'll hit it again, and then we should have things looking pretty smooth after that. Wow, this is unreal how fast this sets up. I might be in here at the perfect time. A little bit wetter over in this corner. Let's see if I can push some of this cream over into this corner. I might be a little late on this one already. Oh, we might also just be here at the perfect time. I have now hit this concrete a couple times with the trowel, and I don't know if it's just the way we mixed it or the mixture in the bag or what, but it just does not seem like it is wanting to finish worth a hoot. I hit it with the trowel and it gets all wavy, and I feel like it's making it look way worse. So since this is going to be hidden inside the wall and it's not cooperating, I am just going to stop messing with it. So the next thing we are going to do, we are ready to get our giant I-beam that is going to go in the place of this wooden LVL beam. So we need to get a measurement from the I-beam on that end over to this corner right here where we just poured our pad, so that way we know how long of a beam that we need to cut. Our I-beam is currently about 50 feet long where it is sitting, so we're gonna bring a few batteries and the Sawzall with some good metal blades, and we're gonna see if we can get this thing cut out in the field. And we have a can of WD-40 around here somewhere. Yes, right here. This actually made cutting through the I-beams when we did it the first time 5 times easier, so we are definitely going to be using this again. We are also going to need the skid loader because we're not strong enough to lift this big I-beam up by hand. I'm going to take this green treated board off. It is going to stay in the basement, but then we can take that concrete that's sitting on the pallet, put that back in the shed. We may need it for some extra projects around here. We did get a little bit extra, but that is okay. We can always bring it back if we need to. Actually, I don't know if you could bring concrete back. If not, we'll find something for it at some point. Set our 5 bags of concrete down right here, and we are ready to go get the I-beam.
Okay, just got back to the shop here. Getting ready to work on the side of the rotor here where the concaves are. We got a hole. Our bottom pan is getting somewhat thin here. So we got a hole here. We're gonna take a piece of not angle iron, but we're gonna cut a chunk that'll go from this bottom corner to the top. So right now we got our concave rolled all the way down, so we got room here. But we're hoping if it'll clear here, we're gonna try to just weld it on the outside here. If not, we'll have to come back here, like right here, cut all this off, get all that flat down to the bottom here. And then we'll weld it in flat so it's flush with this, but we're hoping we can just go on the outside, be easier. But it's all gonna determine if it'll clear this tab right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and start grinding on that, see if we can get that to work. All right, we got that ground down right here on the bottom. Zach's cutting the piece now. It's gonna come back to about here. Once he gets that cut, we'll see if it'll fit in here. We'll raise the concave, see if it's gonna clear.
Hey Cal, what are we doing? What are we doing, Cal? This is the calmest I've ever seen you. Oh, the I-beam should be here somewhere. I don't think anybody took it. Yep, it looks like it's still here. Good thing. Oh, ow! It's got a sticker in my leg. I think this is a great example of the raw power of this skid loader. This I-beam is ginormous, and we are picking it up like it is absolutely nothing. I wouldn't be surprised if this thing weighs over a ton. Look at that, effortless. After a little bit of a battle, we were able to get the ginormous I-beam out. Look how long this thing is, and check this out. When I step onto the end, this should teeter-totter just like that, but watch this. I take one big step forward, and then another little baby one. Look at that. We are coming up off the ground. It balances itself out. We have 4 feet of beam behind me, and I'm off the ground standing completely at one end. So that thing has some weight over there. If my thought process is correct, if I can stand right here and balance out, that means from my toes to the end weighs 160 pounds. So 4 feet weighs 160 pounds, so every foot weighs 40 pounds. Does that sound about right?
I don't know if it works that way.
You stand on the other end, on the very end, and we'll see if it balances itself out.
Well, you're a little heavier too.
No, we weigh the same.
What do you weigh?
I was 161 last time I weighed myself.
Really?
Yeah. Uh-oh, you bent it. Looking at the side profile of the beam, we have about pinky thickness over on the side. Then in the middle, we are a little bit thinner. This is pretty much just going to be holding up the center of floor joists, so that way they don't have any bow to them. So we don't really need this to be the strongest in the world. It's not really holding much weight. It's just more for flex. So this should be plenty, or probably 1/4 inch thick there in the middle. And then I don't know what that is, maybe 3/8. So we need to measure from right here in 25 feet. We'll make a mark somewhere in here, I would guess, and then we're gonna cut it.
We got it tacked in here. We raise it all the way up, and our plate is just a little too far to us. So I cut my tack here, and we're gonna try and push this in a good 1/8 inch or better, and try to clear this little tab up here. So just got it ground down. I'm gonna push this in and get her tacked, and we should be good. All right, well, I didn't realize I didn't press play, but there we go. I'll weld it in there. This was all chunked out before from just use. It was getting thin, so this all broke off, so corn cobs were allowed to come through here. Now, this is the furthest point this concave can go down, so you got a little hole there, but you never run it that open. The only time you're opening it that far is if you plug the rotor and you lower your concave so it's got more room. Then you reverse your rotor and then it takes off to spin. So usually run it like 20, anywhere from like 16 to 25 millimeters. So this is at like 60 millimeters, so well, maybe half of that. So we are good. So now I think we're done working on the combine. We just gotta service it, and yeah, at least we can move on to the next thing. We'll be a-okay.
Our beam is now cut. This is 25 feet long. We now have the hard part of trying to get this thing onto the tilt deck trailer and get the skid loader on there at the same time. We tried to do the double combo of having the I-beam and the skid loader on the trailer at once, but if our I-beam was about a foot shorter, or maybe like a ½ an inch narrower, then we would have been able to fit on, but we were just a little bit too tall. When I would pull the skid loader on, the skid plate on the bottom of the skid loader would just catch the corner, and it kept shoving it forward. So luckily we have the telehandler over at the house, so we're gonna drive the trailer over, unload this with the telehandler, and then we'll have to make a trip back here to get the skid loader. With our beam now loaded up on the telehandler and home here at the house, I'm going to take the hose now and we are going to rinse this thing off. There are a whole bunch of weed seeds on here. I think these are a bunch of little water hemp seeds that we are now going to be planting in the driveway. We have some dirt, and then we used a whole bunch of WD-40 for cutting fluid. And so we want to get all that off so that way it's not all greasy when we're working with it. Getting the beam cleaned up a little bit with the brush and the hose actually made a pretty big difference. We can do a lot of inspection on it now and kind of see what we're working with. This end, now keep in mind, this beam has been sitting outside for probably the last 50 years. So for the condition that it's in, I am super impressed. This end must have been out of the ground. We really just have a little bit of surface rust, and that is about it. Super good condition on the top flange. Webbing looks nice. Bottom condition is perfect. And then as we look down a little ways, I kind of wonder if maybe there was something laying on top of the I-beam right here. We do have just a little bit of pitting. I don't know if this is in maybe a 1/16 of an inch. It's just a little bit. It's nothing that's going to impact the integrity of the beam for at least what load we are going to have on this. The middle of the beam looks good. And then as we get down to the end, we can see we have a little bit more pitting down here. There must have been something sitting on the beam, or maybe it was touching the ground or something. I kind of feel like it was flipped on its side. Maybe some dirt or something got on there, so it just kind of remained damp. We do have a little bit more pitting down here, but I don't think these are anything serious by any means. I don't know, a little bit more than a 1/16 of an inch on some of these deeper ones. But if we go down all the way to the end, we actually cut through one of these pitted areas, and we can see exactly how much center webbing we still have, even with the pitting going on. So like, there's a pit spot right there at the top. If the camera will focus, see if I can block the sun a little bit, but right here by my thumb, a little bit of a pit spot right there. So we still have plenty of center webbing, and nothing is rusted internally. So everything looks really good here. This beam is going to work absolutely perfectly. I knew we kept this thing around for a reason. When we put it over there, Cooper was my brother, was like, you guys aren't gonna do anything with that. And I'm like, you never know. And here we go. We are dual purposing this thing. If we had to buy this beam, I imagine it would probably be somewhere north of $60 a foot. So 60 times 25, we just saved some money. If we were loading this beam to maximum capacity, this pitting may be a little bit of a concern, but looking at some I-beam charts, if we were to support both ends of this 25-foot long beam, we could put 7,000 pounds in the middle of this, and it would sink a 1/2 inch. So this beam is incredibly strong, and the application that it's going to be going in the house, it's going to have like 1,000 pounds on it in the middle of it, maybe. Just to put 7,000 pounds into perspective, this is my 2024 Chevy 2500. It weighs 7,000 pounds. So if we were to take a post on this end of the beam and on that end of the beam, and then take my pickup truck and balance it right on its end in an area as wide as this broom, our beam would settle down a 1/2 inch in the center. Take you in the house here and show you what it's actually going to be holding up. So the beam itself is going to go from right where we have this winch straight over almost to the corner of the wipe board right there. So it's going to be holding up the hallway over there. We have this wall right here, which does take the ceiling above us on it. And then we have this bathroom wall, which is not load bearing. It runs with the floor joist, so it's just supporting that wall. And then if we have a couple freezers here in the pantry and whatever we have inside the freezers, that is all that is going to be on top of the beam. Then I guess if we're walking through, of course, then we will be stepping on it as well. And we also can't forget the fact that our floor joists are also spanning the distance across too. So right where this LVL beam is right now, that is where our big I-beam is going to go. So it will be replacing this LVL beam. But our floor joists run from the center wall all the way to the exterior wall. So those are helping support things as well. So it's not just the I-beam. The I-beam is basically going to make it where once these get too much weight on them and they start to sag a little bit, they're going to have the beam right under, and then that's where the beam takes over. So every single one of these floor joists is also sistered up. So we have a double 2x8 on every single one of these. So every 12 inches, we have a 2x8, and then we will also have our ginormous I-beams. So this I-beam is really not going to be carrying very much weight. It is basically, it really just needs to be able to span from there to there, and then be able to hold up just a little bit of deflection from these floor joists, and that is going to allow us to be able to remove our poles. I need to run back over to where we got the I-beam from now, pick up the skid loader, and then bring that back, and then we'll go take a look at our concrete and see how that turned out. look and see how our concrete turns out. On the bag, it says we have a walk time of 3 hours. We are going to see if this is true because it has now been 3 hours since we poured it. Move this ladder out of the way right here. Let's do a field test with the hand first. Holy cow, are you kidding me? Look at that. Incredible. So now when we come back tomorrow, we should have a 3,000 PSI of compressive strength on this. So we will for sure be able to get our post on here and be able to get our I-beam up. Looking at our other pour, this one looks phenomenal as well. This looks a little bit messy here on the edge because it's sitting on top of this board, but we have a nice smooth transition going from existing pour over into the new pour, and this one is all hard too. I am super pleased with everything that we got done today. We got all our preparation stuff done, we got forms made, we got all our errands run, I-beams picked up, we even got the new I-beam cut and brought over here. Concrete is poured. We are 100% ready to get rid of these poles now. We are ready to install our giant I-beam.